Is the seventh guess the gothic blockbuster that legitimized CD-ROM drives, or a glorified slideshow of jump scares and logic worksheets? That isn't a trick question so much as a gut check. If the words microscope puzzle still send you into fight or flight, you already know the answer. In April 1993, Trilobyte's Mansion Mystery promised bleeding-edge horror and delivered a haunted house with more attitude than an Evil Dead one-liner, complete with whispered taunts, geometry lessons, and a cake that bleeds raspberry goo. Overhyped? Only if you bought the box expecting doom in a tuxedo. Underrated? Ask the 500,000 folks who rushed out for a double-speed drive just to spin Stauf's 2-disc invitation. Fundamental? Absolutely. By Christmas 1993, it had dragged an estimated 450,000 PCs into the optical era, and the million-unit threshold fell 2 years later, paving the highway for every FMV fever dream that followed. Buckle in. This playthrough has more trapdoors than a 3.5 ED and D-Monk has iframes. We already know you multi-classed rogue for evasion, don't play coy. Historical context: 1993 was Silicon adolescence. VGA cards flirting with true color, 486DX2 chips humming at 66 MHz, and CD-ROM drives dropping below the psychologically magical $400 mark. Yet most discs on retail shelves were dry reference tomes, interactive encyclopedias whose biggest surprise was an 8-bit sax riff when you clicked random flamingos. Graham Devine and Rob Landeros, recently severed from Virgin Interactive's in-house skunkworks, smelled opportunity. If 2 GB of capacity sat dormant in a tray, why not cram it with digitized actors, Redbook audio, and pre-rendered 3D corridors shiny enough to fry a Trident 8900 card? Virgin said, "Show us a prototype." Devine sculpted a spiral staircase in Autodesk 3D Studio, lit it like a Hammer horror set, and slapped a MIDI harpsichord beneath. The test build, 30 seconds of ghostly panning, was all it took. Virgin's marketing team declared the project the first interactive movie and greenlit a budget rumored at $700,000. Lavish for the era, though peanuts compared to Wing Commander III's later FMV binge. Rendering the Mansion devoured hardware. Trent Oster, then an intern, recalled a render farm of 2486s crunching frame by frame while developers slept under desks fueled by Jolt Cola and Oreos. One hallway shot could gulp an hour of CPU despite the video's final resolution landing at a chunky 640 by 320 with letterboxing. That compression cocktail, Cinepak for video, ADPCM for voice, became both innovation and Achilles' heel. Smooth enough to astonish, grainy enough to haunt meticulous eyes. Launch day arrived on April 28, 1993. Whereas floppy-era epics shipped in brick-shaped boxes filled with disc stacks, the seventh guest strutted out on 2 glossy CD-ROMs, deluxe edition, tossed in a soundtrack disc and poster. Within 8 months, Virgin's internal tallies crossed 450,000 units worldwide. PC Magazine columnists credited the game, alongside Myst, with a 300% surge in drive attach rates. Bill Gates famously declared it the new standard in interactive entertainment on stage at CES, a quote that plastered every subsequent print ad. I first encountered it at Software Etc., tucked between Castle Wolfenstein big box reprints and shareware racks. A velvet rope corralled gawkers around a Pentium 60 kiosk where that opening FMV glided through Stauf's foyer. The clerk whispered, "You need at least 4 MB of RAM and a mouse. Good luck." My 386SX wept in embarrassment, but envy dug its claws. Birthday cash became a 2 by Panasonic drive just so Henry Stauf could sneer through my cheap desktop speakers. Mechanics. At face value, the Mansion is a simple graph. Hallways as nodes, doors as gatekeepers, puzzles as padlocks. In practice, Trilobyte wove 22 mini-games that range from clever pub riddle to graduate-level topology prank. The cast. 6 doomed partygoers wander Stauf's estate. Gourmand socialite Martine Burden, money-hungry bankers Edward and Eleanor Knox, aging writer Brian Dutton, gold-digging chanteuse Julia Hine, and stage magician Hamilton Temple. Their spectral scraps play out in FMV vignettes you trigger by solving room puzzles. Each performance is hammy enough to charcoal grill, but also eerily earnest, exactly the tone your 13-year-old brain labels cult classic. puzzle highlight reel. The cake, slice a blood-iced 6-piece pastry into equal servings while obeying geometry constraints, still cited in math teacher forums as classroom torture. Knights on a chessboard. Swap black and white knights by leaping like traditional L moves. Every misstep adds exponential turn cost. Parents lost weekends here. Microscope. A tile-flipping cell war where you must out-infect an AI virus within 50 moves. Think Go rebuilt in a Petri dish. Crypt, an alphabet maze that forces you to spell Edgar Allan Poe's favorite 5-letter word, drink. Yes, Stauf is that on the nose. Trilobyte balanced cruelty with accessibility via the library hint book. Crack it once, and Stauf's voice mocks your intelligence while dropping breadcrumbs. Crack it twice, and he relents, auto-resolving the brain burner at the cost of silently penalizing your score. In an era before built-in strategy guides, this was radical UI empathy, while still shaming you for weakness. Navigation uses a skeletal hand cursor animated in 4 frames. Beckon, point, grasp, nope. Clicking forward initiates a pre-rendered glide, reminiscent of Mist's slideshow but spiced with fisheye camera tilts and bone crunch sound cues. The effect, you feel trapped on rails yet simultaneously nauseated by impossible architecture, as if the house itself is coupling you to its pulse. Audio completes the trap. George the Fat Man, Sanger, and Dave Govett scored the mansion in gothic-club fusion. Pipe organs underscored by breakbeats. Gregorian murmurs duet with TR-909 snares. The main motif's whispered "ma-na-na" loops like earworm witchcraft. Recorded as voicemail and lose friends quickly. Cheat doors. Sitting at the Ouija-board splash screen, type Zaphod Beeblebrox. A dev skull flashes, and your next click drops you into a secret level select map. Every unlocked room at your disposal. The code spread through Usenet faster than Stauf's dreaded virus, turning high school computer labs into speed-clear arenas long before Twitch existed. Fail states don't technically exist. Stauf will taunt, "You'll never get it, boy," if you flog a puzzle into submission too long, but the mansion never kills you outright. The real death is ego. When you re-enter the cake room for the 7th time, the marble floor reflects your shame, legacy, and influence. By mid-1995, global sales cracked 1 million, and by 1997, Virgin celebrated the 2 million milestone. PC OEMs bundled demo discs. Dell's 1994 holiday catalog literally pictured the 7th guest box atop a tower to announce CD-ROM included. Without these bundlings, the quadruple-speed drive might have lingered another year on technophile wish lists. Technologically, Stauf Mansion showed developers how to stream video from disk without buffering nightmares. Sierra engineers cited its Cinepak pipeline when constructing Phantasmagoria and Gabriel Knight 2. Westwood leaned on its node-based traversal for Blade Runner. Even id Software lifted cues. Quake's Red Book soundtrack owes a spiritual debt to Sanger's moody layering. Culturally, it planted seeds now sprouting in layers of fear and what remains of Edith Finch, where houses serve as sentient storytellers. Indie puzzle horrors crib its format. Locked rooms parcel out FMV or audio snippets as breadcrumb narrative. The mansion itself became meme material. See 2010's Stauf Cake Fail YouTube series, or the 2023 VR remake recasting the logic labyrinth in room-scale gloom. Trilobyte's own sequel, The 11th Hour, 1995, doubled down on gore and upscaled videos to 640 by 480. But by then, players demanded free roam 3D, CGI corridors felt passé next to Descent's 6-axis flights, or Tomb Raider's fully skinned polygons. The studio overstretched, CD-ROM bubble popped, and FMV became a punchline for a decade, until indie horror reclaimed its camp value. Speedrunning communities resurrected Stauf in the 2010s. Current any percent record hovers at 14 minutes 2 seconds. Runner launches the Zaphod Warp, solves only mandatory puzzles, Cake Piano Microscope, and mashes Escape to skip FMV while chat recites Stauf's lines karaoke style. AGDQ slots the game into horror block lineups. Donations spike whenever the announcer triggers the lab hint glitch. Preservationists adore its Red Book audio, which rips flawlessly onto vinyl pressings beloved by synthwave DJs. University curricula use the mansion for interactive narrative modules, asking students to analyze how non-linear FMV fragments still cohere into a tragedy of hubris and greed. One professor I interviewed calls the cake puzzle the earliest mainstream example of environmental storytelling through cuisine. Closing paragraph plus score fire. Up the 7th guest today, and you'll greet chunky Cinepak video, puzzles a modern phone could brute force, and hallway transitions slower than a dial-up handshake. Yet the mansion still tingles with menace. Stauf's hissed whispers, the organ stabs when the cake bleeds, the euphoric relief when you finally corner that microbial virus. They're tactile memories from the moment gaming outgrew floppies. Skip the title and you snub a cornerstone that proved optical media could be more than encyclopedia dumps. Embrace it and you inherit bragging rights that predate achievements. Final tally, 8.1 out of 10. Not flawless, some riddles age like milk left on the radiator, but vital, visionary, and forever the wicked host who made us say yes to multimedia dessert. The mansion lights are dim, the hand cursor beckons, and Henry Stauf still whispers, "Care for a slice?"
You know the others will try to beat us. But it doesn't have to be that way. Not if you and I work together. We can solve Stauf's puzzle. We can win. You can get what you want, Edward. What is it